Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, this Monday edition AFR Talk. Brian Fisher's my name. The program is Focal Point, number 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. If you'd like to weigh in on the Bundy situation, give us a call in this last segment. Let's go to Bob, Lawton, Oklahoma. Bob, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. We can grab Bob there and bring him in. Bob, welcome. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Brian. God bless you, man.
Thank you.
A couple of things very important, and I want to say them quickly. What about the hollow points that DHS have, all those bullets at 1.5 million? What about the four-man squad armored cars they've got, the 2700 that you mentioned months back? And two very important things I wanted to mention. When I lived in Las Vegas in 2008, Brian, I voted for John McCain. When I went down to the bottom of the computer, my vote was changed to Obama. I said, my goodness, I didn't do that. I went and I re-voted. I went down to the bottom and my vote was changed from McCain to Obama. And I walked out of there, I talked to a supervisor, she changed it back, and when I walked out of there, I said, how difficult is it to make a computer do that? And I'm scared over all the voter fraud. The last and most important point I wanted to make is the pastor's wife of my church. I've been trying to get the pastor and everybody to listen to some of the things you've informed me about, and I've been unable to do it. Well, this weekend, a good friend of all of ours put on their Facebook this deal about the Bundy Ranch. And would you believe in one day all their Facebook items on the Bundy Ranch were removed from Facebook?
Now, removed by Facebook?
Yeah, I don't know who removed it. It was no longer on Facebook. All the comments about the Bundy Ranch for all my friends in little old Lawton, Oklahoma, and we're talking, I don't know how many members are on Facebook, but this is my pastor wife telling me, and they're finally listening to some of the points I've been trying to make, and that is scary.
So what you're saying, Bob, is that as far as you know, it didn't happen to just one person's Facebook account, but a number of Facebook accounts were scrubbed of any references to the Bundy situation.
Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm saying, and I was told that by my pastor's wife.
Wow. So, in other words, enough alarming things are happening that even people that have not been paying attention or have been trying to avoid these topics are now sort of forced to face the reality of it.
That's right, Brian. Could this be another point of NSA?
Well, and how do you mean by NSA? What are you thinking of there?
I don't know. I'm just saying, is there any way anyone could check out Facebook and find out?
Oh, I see. So who might be behind that?
Could it be surveillance at its worst?
Yeah, that I don't know. I mean, who knows what's going on there? If it just happened to one person, maybe one person got squeamish and decided to pull that stuff down. But when it happens to more than one account, that's certainly not ordinary. Well, I appreciate the call, Bob. And Bob's exactly right. I mean, this is just kind of disturbing me as the program has developed. I've kind of gotten progressively more disturbed, I guess is the word, over realizing, what Obama seems to be doing here. He said, I'm going to get a civilian national security force. It ought to be as big and as powerful as the regular military. I mean, he said that when he was campaigning, and now he's doing it. And Bob talked about the fact that the Department of Homeland Security, they got 1.6 billion rounds of hollow point. Hollow point ammunition cannot be used in international combat. So these hollow point bullets are being purchased, 1.6 billion rounds. The only people they can use them on is you and me, my friend. The only people they can use them on is us. They can't use them in combat. So these rounds of ammunition are not being purchased to protect us from our enemies across the seas or international enemies. I mean, they're being purchased to outfit Department of Homeland Security types to use them against American citizens. That's a civilian security force by I don't know how else you explain that. They can't use it in warfare, can't use it in combat. So the only possible application would be against American citizens, and this is the Department of Homeland Security. You look at these 2,700 light tanks, these armored tanks, they're going into civilian law enforcement. And you've got, the people in Chicago, they're openly calling for Department of Homeland Security to come and patrol their streets So this is the militarizing of law enforcement. And if you remember, the founding fathers had a very, very a very different view of how law enforcement and the use of force by government was to work. They understood that the federal government was responsible to protect our borders from foreign enemies. So we're going to have a military, we're going to have an army, we're going to have a navy to engage the threat to our security from without. When it comes to security within, that's why we have a Second Amendment. Law enforcement is to be a matter for state and local communities. You're going to have a Second Amendment so you can protect yourselves. There's been a fair amount of controversy. You probably heard that story about the woman who was shot to death by her husband in Denver, Colorado, while she's on 9/11. It's a 13-minute 9/11 call. At the 12-minute mark, she's shot to death by her husband, who was probably high on pot and prescription drugs, or doing an autopsy. But he consumed a bunch of pot and this candy. And remember, the trouble with those brownies and all that is the THC content is stronger and much more powerful than in just a regular joint. So he's hopped up on this THC, this marijuana candy, maybe taking some prescription meds. And the police take 13 minutes to get there. By the time they get there, she's dead. And everybody's critical of the cops. Well, my point is, look, the cops didn't kill that woman. Her husband did, and he was high on pot. He was doped up on pot. And we saw that other guy who jumped off a balcony to his death. He'd eaten an entire marijuana cookie. He cut up into 6 pieces. He's only supposed to eat 1 piece. He ate all 6. He gets hopped up. He starts hallucinating. He starts speaking erratically in French, and throws himself off the balcony. So anyway, you get back to, and that's the whole point of the Second Amendment is, the woman had 12 minutes. Now, I'm not saying she should have done something any differently. I'm not criticizing her. Please don't misunderstand me. But if a woman has a concealed carry permit, maybe she's got a weapon in her purse, and her purse is hanging there on a hook in the kitchen. So she's got 12 minutes. He had to go to a gun safe and get the gun out, apparently, that he used to kill her. If she's got a concealed carry permit, she's got a gun in her purse, she at least has the opportunity in those 12 minutes. She can arm herself. She can retrieve her gun out of her purse. She can use it then to protect her children and protect herself, even from a hopped up, drugged up husband who has lethal intention. And that's the purpose of the Second Amendment. So you've got some kind of capacity to defend yourself. Anyway, number is 888-589-8840 if you'd like to join the conversation. It's interesting thinking about this, going back to the Founding Fathers and what happened on April 19, 1775. And, I would say the folks that gathered around George Bundy were acting in the same spirit that motivated the people that took their stand on the Lexington Green, that took their stand at the Concord Bridge. The Redcoats had the legal authority, the legal permission, the legal authorization to do what they were doing. But our Founding Fathers said, look, what you're doing is just not right. You're trying to disarm us, and that's just not right. We're not going to let you do it. Now, Antonin Scalia is probably my favorite justice. He was speaking at the University of Tennessee College of Law on Tuesday. And you think about, you're hearing some of the stuff that we're talking about here, and it sounds pretty radical. It sounds pretty revolutionary, if you want to use that term. Here is Antonin Scalia, the longest-serving justice currently on the Supreme Court. He's a big fan of originalism, that the Supreme Court, that the Constitution means exactly today what it meant when it was written. That's what he believes. That's how he operates. So he's speaking at the University of Tennessee at the College of Law, and he answered a question from a student who was wondering about the constitutionality of the income tax, 16th Amendment. We talked about this last week. And here's what Antonin Scalia said. The government has the constitutional right to implement the tax, quote, but if it reaches a certain point, perhaps you should revolt. That's Antonin Scalia saying to these students at the University of Tennessee College of Law about the tax burden. If it reaches a certain point, perhaps you should revolt. Pretty amazing stuff. Now, one last clip before we're done. Let's grab clip number 6, Rob. Democrats running like scalded dogs from Obamacare. They want to get as far away from this thing as they can. And here is President Obama still hacking and flacking for his signature legislation, clip 6.
With respect to the Affordable Care Act, my point is that we've been having a political fight about this for 5 years. We need to move on to something else. That's what the American people are interested in. I think that Democrats should forcefully defend and be proud of the fact that millions of people like the woman I just described, who I saw in Pennsylvania yesterday, were helping because of something we did. I don't think we should apologize for it. I don't think we should be defensive about it. I think there is a strong, good, right story to tell.
So President Obama, and I'm looking at a story here about the trouble that the Democrats are in from freebeacon.com. 56% of likely voters in competitive U.S. House districts disapprove of President Barack Obama's job performance, according to a new poll released by YG Network. 59% of independents, 55% of undecideds in the battleground districts, these are battleground where they could go either way, disapprove of the president's performance. Only 39% of the voters in these battleground districts approve of Obamacare. 56% disapprove. No wonder the Democrats who are scrambling for re-election are ignoring the appeal of their president. Well, that's it for today. Bow low before God, stand tall before man, stand in the gap, and never forget we are fighting a winnable war. See you tomorrow.
The